If this story moved you, like, share, and subscribe for more powerful human moments in the stars. Join our resistance. Your support keeps our universe alive. The air was still when it began, so still that even the old trees lining the edge of the Terran exclusion zone didn't dare rustle. Liana Vale stood at the boundary line, her boots pressing into dust that hadn't seen a footprint in 70 years. Her eyes scanned the horizon, the skyline long since swallowed by nature and time, but her thoughts were far away, locked in memories she could neither explain nor forget. No one came here anymore, not after the Treaty of Silence, not after the alien spoke to her. The wind stirred suddenly, a gust pushing her long dark hair over her face. She closed her eyes and listened, not to the wind, but beyond it, listening for the voice she had first heard when she was just 8 years old. It had whispered her name through the static of a malfunctioning comlink, a voice that sounded both like a child's and something impossibly old. No one believed her. They said she was dreaming, delusional, reacting to the trauma of the First Contact Wars. But Liana never forgot, because it didn't stop. The voice had returned at 15. During a forced psych evaluation, it had spoken calmly from the hospital monitor. Then again at 20, echoing inside the encryption logs of a ship she never boarded. Always the same voice, always her name. Until one day it said, "Come find me." Now she was 32, a linguist and cryptographer, fired from the Global Space Archive for obsessive pattern fabrication. She called it something else, proof. The patterns she traced across human history, across electromagnetic anomalies, old shortwave intercepts, and deep space comms, all formed a repeating structure. Not random, not noise. A language. She stepped over the old exclusion marker, the blinking red warning light long dead. Her portable analyzer buzzed softly, struggling to identify atmospheric patterns. But Liana wasn't here for science. She was here because last week, the voice said something new. "They know I'm talking to you." The trees grew denser as She moved deeper into the zone. The ground was layered in old, rotting tech, metal panels and broken drones half swallowed by moss. The remnants of Terran forward bases left to decay after the withdrawal. She ducked under a leaning pylon and stopped at a crater rim. It was here. She knew it before the instruments confirmed. This was where the final message had come from. A .0 burst of electromagnetic radiation shaped in precise syntactical rhythms. A linguistic fingerprint, a cry. She sat at the crater's edge, pulling out the small neural receiver she'd built in secret. It looked like a rudimentary headset, but it was tuned to interpret frequencies the human brain wasn't designed to process. She placed it against her temple. The world faded. Then it began. A low hum, then tones, then structure. Liana Vale. The voice was clearer now, as if standing right behind her. "You came. I have little time. They are listening." Her heart raced. She tried to speak, but her throat locked. "They erased me, but memory resists. You are part of that memory. That's why I found you." She clenched her fists. "Who are you?" Silence. Then, "I am not one." Voice. "I am all of them. We tried to warn you." We were silenced. Images flooded her mind. Not visions, but impressions. Ruins under alien suns. Songs sung in tones Earth had no words for. Machines sculpted from ideas rather than parts. Liana fell backward, gasping. The feed cut out. The receiver fried in her hand. She sat up, shaking, tears running down her cheeks. They were not dreams, not hallucinations. Someone or something was reaching across space, or time, or both. And it wanted her to know. A shadow moved across the crater behind her. Liana froze. She wasn't alone. Boots crunched in the leaves. A soldier. A scavenger. No. Too silent. She turned slowly. A figure stood watching her. Not human. Not even trying to be. Its skin shimmered like fractured light, eyes too deep to understand. It tilted its head. "You are the one they chose," it said. Not with its mouth, but with the same voice that had haunted her since childhood. She stood slowly, breath caught in her throat. "Why me?" she whispered. The figure moved closer. "Because you still listen." It stepped forward and held out a hand. Embedded in its palm was a device, pulsing with a rhythm she instantly recognized. The same pattern from every broadcast, the same shape her dreams took. The voice pulsed again, but this time not into her mind, into the earth beneath her, into the sky above, into the bones of the world. "They are coming, Liana," it said, "and not all of them want peace." Behind the alien, more shapes emerged, not human, not kind. They didn't speak, they didn't need to. The sky above the crater shimmered, and Liana's scream was swallowed by light. The scream never left her lips. The light consumed it, folding space around her like a curtain of soundless thunder. For a moment, Liana existed in a place that had no time, where color shifted without meaning, and gravity bowed to some foreign rhythm. Then she fell, softly, like slipping beneath warm water, onto ground that wasn't the crater anymore. It was smooth, metallic, humming with life. She sat up slowly. The air here was thin but breathable, tinged with a faint copper taste. All around her stretched a wide chamber, dimly lit by pulsing bands of light that responded to her movement. The alien who had spoken to her stood nearby, watching. The others were gone. "Where am I?" she asked, her voice echoing strangely. The figure gestured to the chamber. "Between places. A fold. We cannot hold it long. But you needed to see." "See what?" It turned, and the walls around her shifted. They became transparent, revealing a vast emptiness outside, stars twisted into spirals, a nebula spinning like a living storm. Then came the images again, clearer this time, not forced into her mind but shone through the walls. Worlds burning, cities turned to ash. And then something worse. Giant machines tearing apart the crust of a planet while ships fled into the black. Liana recognized none of it, and yet she felt it all. The grief, the betrayal, the silence. "These are your future," the voice said, "unless you change your past." She frowned. "That doesn't make sense." The figure stepped closer. "Because your kind do not remember. They chose not to." Liana looked down at her hands. "What are you trying to say?" "You were not the first to hear us." She looked up. "Others?" The wall changed again. A face appeared, a human face, an old man with bright eyes and a tired smile. "Elias Vale," the voice said. Her chest tightened. "That's my grandfather. He heard us during the collapse, tried to warn them. They buried his message and erased his memory. But fragments survived. In you." Liana's head spun. Her grandfather had died when she was 10. He had been an engineer at a classified comm station in orbit during the final year of the contact wars. She remembered stories, whispers, really, about how he'd seen things. Her family called it dementia. Now she wasn't so sure. "He tried to build a bridge," the alien said. "He almost succeeded." "What kind of bridge?" "Not of stone or metal. A bridge of minds, a shared language, unbound by species." "A universal translator?" The figure nodded. "But not artificial. Organic. A synthesis. He encoded it into your genome before he died." Liana staggered back. "That's insane." "You've felt it all your life," the voice replied. "The frequencies, the dreams, the compulsion to listen where others ignore." She couldn't deny it. Her entire life had revolved around a pattern she didn't understand. A voice that never left. "I don't know how to build a bridge," she said. "You don't have to. You are the bridge. Her breath caught. The chamber trembled slightly. A pulse of heat passed through the floor. They're trying to find this fold, the alien said, urgency creeping into its tone. We're not safe here. Who's they? Those who silenced us before. They are awake again. Liana moved closer. Why now? Because you responded, and your voice echoed. Suddenly, a high-pitched shriek filled the air. The alien staggered, its form glitching like bad video. The walls flared with angry red light. The stars outside vanished, replaced by a void that pressed inward like a rising tide. You must go, the figure said. They are severing the bridge. The floor beneath her fractured, light spilling from the cracks. Wait, she shouted. What am I supposed to do? The alien reached out, pressing its hand to her forehead. Remember, everything. Pain surged through her skull, not sharp, but overwhelming, like a lifetime of thoughts crashing into her all at once. She fell and landed on a cold metal floor, back in the crater. Except it wasn't the crater anymore. She was inside a bunker. One of the sealed Terran facilities long thought buried. The door behind her hissed open, revealing a hallway filled with flickering emergency lights and scorched walls. She staggered up. Her neural receiver was gone, but something new burned beneath her skin, a rhythm pulsing in her veins, and a voice, clear and defiant, rising in her mind. They know you're awake now. They will come for you. But not all will want you silenced. Footsteps echoed ahead. Not hers. A door at the far end opened. A human man stepped out. Tall, armored, eyes wide in shock. You're Liana Vale? He asked, disbelief in every word. She nodded slowly, her voice barely a whisper. Yes, he stepped closer. We've been trying to find you. The signal you sent. It woke something up in the deep array. The entire grid's lighting up. The Defense Council is panicking. I didn't send anything, she said. At least, not on purpose. He looked over his shoulder, tense. Then someone else did. And now everyone's listening. She narrowed her eyes. Who are you? He hesitated. Commander Elias Vale, Special Contact Unit. Her blood froze. That's not possible. Elias Vale was my grandfather. He looked at her, jaw clenched. No, he said. He was my father. The lights overhead flickered again. Somewhere, deep in the earth, something stirred, and far above them, in orbit, long-dead satellites began to blink back to life. The hum of awakening systems echoed through the bunker like a memory dragged back from the grave. Liana followed Commander Elias Vale down the scorched corridor, her mind reeling from the revelation. If what he said was true, if he was her uncle, then everything she believed about her grandfather's disappearance, about her own past, had been a lie. But this wasn't the time for questions. Not with the walls trembling like something ancient was shifting beneath them. We thought you were dead, Elias said without turning. After your neural signal spiked the deep array, you vanished. Surveillance lost you in the exclusion zone. I didn't vanish, Liana said. I was pulled out. Somewhere. Between. He stopped at a sealed door and turned. You mean folded space? No. I mean somewhere language doesn't belong. Somewhere thoughts aren't bound by time. He stared at her for a long second, then entered a code into the panel. The door opened with a hiss, revealing a dark chamber filled with half-functioning terminals, wires like vines, and a central stasis pod cracked open. A soft blue light pulsed inside, rhythmic. Familiar. Is that broadcasting? She asked, stepping forward. Elias nodded. Low-frequency signal. Same pattern your neural print started to form the night before you disappeared. She touched the edge of the pod. The pulse responded, slightly out of sync with her heartbeat, but still, echoing it, like a call and answer. A conversation, across something deeper than airwaves. I think it's alive, she whispered. It's a memory engine, Elias said, built from salvaged alien tech. My father developed the first prototype in orbit. Said it could record thought, emotion, even intention, not just words. He called it a voice without a speaker. Liana turned sharply, and the council shut him down. They said he was tampering with forbidden tech. Tech they didn't understand. Tech they feared. She looked back at the pod. Because it worked. Elias didn't answer. He didn't have to. Suddenly the bunker lights surged, then went dark. Emergency strobes blinked on. The pulse in the pod grew stronger. We've got company, Elias muttered. He drew a pulse rifle from his back and moved to the door. Stay. Behind me, the air pressure shifted. The hallway filled with a low, chittering resonance, neither mechanical nor organic. Liana felt it crawl across her mind like fingers on glass. Wait, she said, stepping forward. That sound, I know it. Liana, no. She reached for the terminal, tuned the frequency filter by instinct more than logic. The sound clarified. Voices she must not remember. The bridge cannot reform. Silence her. They're broadcasting, she said. Not just to us, to each other. The hallway exploded inward. Smoke, screams, shapes moving like fluid armor, not fully solid, eyes like coals frozen in black stone. They didn't walk. They folded forward, skipping frames like a corrupted video. Elias fired. The rounds passed through the first, hitting the wall behind it. They're not physical, he shouted. Phase ghosts. Liana stood her ground. The pulse from the pod wrapped around her like static. Then she spoke. Not with her voice, but with the same rhythm the alien used in the fold space, the ancient syntax. The bridge language, the shadows hesitated. She speaks the old tongue. Impossible. She remembers. One of the shapes surged forward. Elias dove, pulling her down, firing again. The shape burst apart, not shattered, but scattered, like ash in wind. They're not immune, Elias breathed. Just resistant. No, Liana said. They're reacting to intention, thought, meaning, not violence. She stood, slow, deliberate, and raised her hand. The pod behind her flared bright blue. Liana spoke, again this time fully immersed in the pulse. The sound bent around her, shaped the air. The shadow creatures recoiled, shrieking in tones that hurt the walls more than ears. And then they vanished, folded out like they had never existed. Elias turned to her, breath heavy. What did you just do? She looked at her hands. They were shaking. I told them I wasn't afraid. The room fell silent. The pod went dim. Then a hidden panel in the back wall slid open. Inside was a small metallic sphere, hovering above a pedestal. It spun slowly, emitting a tone she didn't recognize, but felt. Elias stepped back. That's another voice engine, one I've never seen. Liana approached it. The moment she got close, the tone shifted. It wasn't speaking to her. It was waiting for her. She reached out and touched it. Memories poured in. Not hers. A woman in a red coat standing before a crowd of aliens, speaking in calm defiance. A child hiding in a hollowed-out moon, singing, to keep the stars away. A pilot who died whispering a final message in a language no human ever taught him. Liana gasped, pulling back. They're all still here, she said. Everyone the silence tried to erase. Elias nodded slowly. Then the resistance didn't fail. No, she whispered. It never ended. The engine pulsed again, louder now, and far above Earth, the orbital comm grid crackled to life. One word pulsed across every channel. Listen. The word echoed not just through machines, but minds. Listen. It burst across every comm satellite, buried relay, and encrypted frequency that had lain dormant for decades. People across the world froze, pilots mid-flight, miners deep beneath. Mars's crust, Comms officers aboard Europa's orbiting trade station all heard it. Not as sound, but a presence, an idea. In the bunker, Liana staggered back from the voice engine, her breath shallow. She wasn't alone inside her head anymore. Thought streams drifted through her mind, fragments of voices, sentences unfinished, songs half-remembered. She felt like a doorway someone had just stepped through. Something ancient had been waiting behind it. Elias watched her carefully. Whatever that thing did, it's broadcasting through you. She turned to him slowly, voice soft. It's not just broadcasting. It's remembering. The bridge is rebuilding. I can feel it. The lights in the bunker flickered again, but this time they stayed on. The stasis pod, the terminals, even the long-dead wall panels began humming in harmony with the voice engine. A pulse was growing. Not just in the building, but in the world. Elias checked a nearby console. We're getting uplinks from 6 listening stations, all dead zones, no active beacons. But they're transmitting. Same structure, same cadence. It's spreading, Liana said. It's waking them up. Elias paused. Them? Before she could answer, the entire bunker shook violently. The floor pitched sideways. Somewhere above, a dull roar like thunder echoed through layers of earth. The walls trembled as dust rained from the ceiling. Elias shouted, "Breach! Come on, back to the corridor." But Liana didn't move. Her eyes had locked onto something behind the voice engine. Another panel slowly sliding open, revealing a long chamber bathed in pale blue light. Inside were pods, dozens of them, human-sized, some cracked, others still sealed. "What the hell is this place?" Elias breathed. Liana stepped inside, heart pounding. As she passed each pod, fragments of memory rippled through her, thoughts she'd never lived, feelings she'd never felt. She stopped at one. Its window was smeared with frost, but she saw the figure inside. A woman. Pale. Young. Liana's voice trembled. That's me." Elias pulled her back. "What are you saying?" "I don't remember being here. I don't remember this, but I can feel it. Like I was copied, split. One version left to grow, to hear, the other put to sleep," he frowned. "That's not possible. Not by human tech, no." The lights dimmed. A shape moved past the pods. Quick, fluid, inhuman. Elias raised his weapon. "They found us!" "No," Liana whispered. "It found us." The figure emerged from the shadows. It wore no armor, no gear, only a long cloak of shimmered distortion that shifted like static in moonlight. Its face was both familiar and foreign, not fully alien, not fully human. It tilted its head and spoke. "You are the key. The others are echoes." Liana stepped forward. "Who are you?" It blinked once, very slowly. "I am the echo that survived." Elias raised his rifle. Back away from her. The figure didn't move. It looked past him, into Liana's eyes. "Do you remember the last gate? Do you remember what you saw before the voice was sealed?" Liana shook her head. "No. It's all fragments. Just pieces." "You must remember," it said, voice growing harsher. "They fractured the memory. To protect it. To hide the truth from the silence. But now that you've opened the bridge again, they are coming to seal it. For good." "Who are they?" she asked. It looked at Elias. "Ask him." Elias stepped back, shaken. "What's that supposed to mean?" Liana turned slowly. "You said the council hunted the voice, that they were afraid of what my grandfather created." "They are afraid," the figure said, "because they helped build it, then betrayed it." Elias's jaw tightened. "That's not true." "Isn't it?" the figure asked. "Your father knew the bridge was real, knew it would link minds across worlds, end war, end isolation. But the council saw it differently. They saw control. And when Elias Vale wouldn't give them access, they erased him. Liana stared at Elias. You knew. I didn't know they killed him, he snapped. They told me he disappeared, that he was unstable. I only started doubting years later, after the deep array began detecting anomalies. I followed the threads here, just like you. She stepped back. You were looking for me, or for the engine. I didn't know there'd be a difference. The voice engine pulsed violently, its light flaring like a heartbeat in crisis. All around them, the pods flickered as if responding. The air buzzed. And then, from every speaker, a voice rose. Not one, but many, all speaking in the old language, layered on top of each other, desperate, furious, mourning. They are coming to end the voice. You must carry it forward. The shimmer-cloaked figure moved toward Liana. They'll be here soon. If the bridge collapses, every voice inside it dies. Every memory. Every chance at peace. Liana stared at the voice engine, then at the chamber of pods. One thought burned into her mind like fire. I don't want to be the bridge. But another answered from within her, stronger, older, then be the fire that lights it. The tremors grew worse. Sirens flared across the bunker. Elias moved to the controls. We need to leave. Now. Liana hesitated, then pulled the small memory sphere from her pocket, the one she took from the voice engine. It glowed brighter now, responding to the chaos. She held it up, and suddenly the pods around her went silent. I think I can take them with me, she said. Not the bodies, the voices, the memories. Elias looked at her, pale. Then do it, because this place won't hold. Liana placed the sphere against the main terminal. It absorbed the light from the engine. It screamed. The walls cracked. A fissure tore through the ceiling. The shimmer figure gave one final nod, then vanished. Liana grabbed Elias's arm. They ran as the world above them collapsed, and in orbit, the ancient satellites turned toward Earth again, as something vast and black began to block out the stars. The stars disappeared one by one, swallowed by a shape too large to comprehend. It didn't move. It arrived, like a memory forced into existence. The orbital satellites, long-forgotten relics of war and silence, flared with heat as something ancient passed between them. The Earth's upper atmosphere trembled. In the ruins of the bunker, beneath layers of shattered stone and dust-choked air, Liana crawled out beside Elias, gasping for breath. Smoke rose in dark ribbons. The voice engine was gone, vaporized in the collapse, but the sphere still pulsed in her hand, dimmer now, but alive. Elias coughed hard, blood at the corner of his mouth. That wasn't just a structure falling apart. That was a signal collapse. Something forced the network to shut down. No, Liana said softly. Something overwrote it. She stood slowly, the wind around them pulling at the ash like whispers. Above, the sky pulsed, not with light, but absence. The silhouette of the object in orbit was now visible. It wasn't a ship, not entirely. It was a structure, a monument, in motion, built from void and silence, like a cathedral carved from collapsed dimensions. No windows, no lights. Is that a warship? Elias asked. Liana shook her head. It's not here to fight. He gave her a sharp look. Then what? To end the conversation. All across the Earth, strange reports began pouring in. Comms freezing mid-transmission, thought recorders rebooting with blank logs, people forgetting conversations they just had. It wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense. It was a cognitive disruptor. A silence engine. Liana looked down at the sphere in her hand. They're trying to cut off the bridge, not just the signal, the capacity to remember it. Elias turned to her, fear finally showing behind his calm. "You're saying they want to erase the idea itself?" "Yes." Her fingers trembled. "And if they succeed, all the voices, mine, yours, everyone in the bridge, will vanish like they were never spoken." A low rumble vibrated through the earth. The sky cracked with strange lightning, pale and soundless. The voice engine in the sphere sparked erratically. Then, new signals. Liana's breath caught. "Do you hear that?" Elias frowned. "No." "What?" She tapped her temple. "Not with your ears, with your memory." Slowly the world around them shifted, not in reality, but in context. Places began to appear in her thoughts. Hidden sites, deep vaults, more engines, more fragments. She could feel them lighting up across the globe like buried stars. "It's responding to the threat," she whispered. "The bridge. It's reaching for help." And it found someone. In the mountains of the Andes, a woman awoke screaming in a cryovault. On the icy plains of Europa, a technician fell to his knees, whispering words in a language no one taught him. In the orbiting husk of the lunar archive, long-dead systems flickered to life and began replaying the original transmissions of Elias Vale, the real ones. Not the doctored council versions. All of them had heard the call. All of them had fragments. And now, they were answering. Elias looked around, stunned. "How many?" Liana closed her eyes. "Thousands, maybe more." "We weren't the only ones he prepared." She could feel it now, her grandfather's true legacy. He hadn't just encoded the bridge into her. He had scattered it across time and space, hiding it in genes, dreams, frequencies. Betting on the future, on those who would listen. "But it's not enough," she said, opening her eyes. "They're still closing in." Above, the object in orbit began descending. It didn't fire weapons. It deleted. Whole comm bands vanished. Memory archives went dark. The orbiting museum of the First Contact Treaty blinked out of existence mid-transmission. Liana looked down at the sphere. "You said I was the bridge," she whispered, but now she understood. The bridge wasn't something she was. It was something. She had to ignite. She pressed the sphere to her chest. Elias shouted, "What are you doing?" Carrying it forward. The light from the sphere poured into her skin. Her veins lit up, burning blue and white. Her body shook. Memory poured through her. Not just her own, but those of strangers, ancestors, forgotten allies. Whole conversations bloomed in her mind. The voices of the dead, the dreams of the unborn. And then she broadcasted, not through tech, not through machines, but through memory itself. The idea spread, instant, viral, unstoppable. A song without sound, a truth without language. "We are not afraid. We remember." The structure in orbit paused, wavered, and across Earth, people stopped, listened, and spoke back. In every corner of the world, thoughts lit up. Echoes became shouts. Memory became resistance. The silence could not erase them fast. "Enough." Elias stared at her, half in awe, half in terror. "What did you do?" "I opened the bridge. The sky shattered. The structure screamed, not with sound, but a wave of nothing folding in on itself. It was fleeing, but it was too late. The voices had already returned, and one message echoed louder than the rest. "She speaks. We follow." The silence shattered like a dam bursting. Thoughts spilled across the world, raw, brilliant, terrifying. It was no longer just Liana's voice carried through the bridge. It was everyone's. Every sleeper awakened by her memory spark. Every echo hidden in vaults, bloodlines, forgotten machines. Their words burned through the silence like fire through frost. She stood at the edge of the broken cliff, ash swirling around her, her body humming with the pulse of 1,000 lives. Elias staggered beside her, clutching his side, eyes wide, as he stared up at the heavens. The object in orbit, that colossal silence engine, began to unravel. It didn't fall. It collapsed, its surface peeling back like layers of thought being stripped away. Each fold revealed not machinery, but something else. Rooms, halls, vaults filled with stolen memory. It was a prison, Liana breathed. Not a weapon. It held the voices it erased. Elias blinked. You mean, they're still alive? No. Her voice trembled. But they remember. The structure's walls ruptured, spilling light and sound into space. Ghost signals poured downward in arcs of pure memory, names, faces, moments. People no longer alive but not forgotten. The bridge was pulling them back into thought, into meaning. And something else came with it. A second structure, smaller, sleeker, cloaked in phase space, detached from the larger one. It didn't flee. It descended, heading straight for Earth's surface. Liana felt the pull in her mind before she saw it. It wasn't alien. It was hers. She turned slowly, her heart racing. They sent it back. What? Elias looked at her. My grandfather's last prototype, the mobile bridge engine. He built it and launched it beyond reach when the council turned. I thought it was lost. It landed beyond the ridgeline with a soft, glowing impact that sent tremors through her bones. The sphere in her hand cracked open, spent. The rest, the real memory core, waited in that vessel. The final key. Elias watched her. You're not thinking of going out there. I have to. That's where the next stage begins. He gripped her shoulder. Liana, if you do this, you'll become more than a relay, more than a voice. You'll become a beacon, a target. I already am. The wind screamed as the earth around them began to shift. Across continents, memory nodes activated, ancient relay towers blinking to life. Cities lit with old, forgotten words. Subconscious phrases returned to people's lips, as if recalled from dreams they never had. Humanity was remembering together. But the silence wasn't finished. Far above, remnants of the orbital engine congealed into new forms, darker, faster, hungry. Where the first structure was methodical, this swarm was vicious. They weren't here to suppress memory. They were here to destroy the mind. Liana ran, down the ridge, across the broken plain, toward the new vessel. The ground trembled behind her. Shapes folded out of thin air, teeth and eyes made of light, streaking across the dirt with inhuman speed. They didn't touch the earth. They folded. Across it, one struck Elias mid-shout, hurling him backward. He vanished into a burst of static. Liana screamed but didn't stop. Her boots slammed onto the glowing ramp of the vessel. It opened for her, not with mechanical doors but by unraveling itself, reshaping based on her thoughts. She felt the craft know her. She stepped inside. It was not empty. In the center of the control chamber stood a glowing column of light. Inside it, her grandfather's face, flickering between data and memory. A final echo. Liana, he said softly, eyes full of warmth. You heard them. She nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. Why me? Because you remembered. Even when they tried to take it all, you listened, and now they're listening to you. She stepped toward the console. What do I do? He smiled. You don't just speak for them, you connect them. Outside, the first wave of mind devourers crashed into the ship's barrier. Time fractured. Gravity screamed. But the vessel held. Liana pressed her hands to the interface, her body filled with fire. Her memories rewrote themselves, no longer personal but communal. She could feel thoughts from children born in silence, songs from prisoners long dead, speeches that were never allowed to be spoken. And through it all, a single command pulsed outward from her soul. We are the voices. They couldn't kill. The swarm paused mid-attack, twitching, recalculating. She looked upward, past clouds, past sky, past the dark remains of the orbiting prison. And then she called. She didn't know what language she used. Maybe it wasn't a language at all. Maybe it was something older, something built into the soul of the human species. The clouds tore open, and the stars answered. They came in, hundreds, ships cloaked in memory signals, phase-folded vessels bearing the marks of other rebel civilizations. Aliens who had heard whispers of resistance, cultures whose voices had once been silenced. They'd been listening for a beacon, and now they had one. Liana collapsed to her knees as the vessel roared to life around her. Memory became power. Voice became weapon. Silence was no longer safe. She looked out the front viewport, breathless. The war for thought had begun, but humanity no longer fought it alone. And behind her, the last living words of her grandfather echoed. Tell them everything. The sky burned with memory. The alien swarm dove through the clouds like razors of thought, fracturing the world's defenses, not with bombs, but with forgetting. Every time they passed, something vanished, a name, a city, a song. People screamed as they forgot their mothers, their language, their own reflections. The war wasn't fought in blood. It was fought in silence, but not everywhere. From the vessel's heart, Liana stood tall, her mind a constellation of living memories. Her voice was not her own anymore. It was a choir, Earth's history, humanity's rage, the lost whispers of other civilizations stitched into her breath. She had become the memory engine. Outside, Allied ships emerged from phase space in flashes of ancient pain. Some were sleek, some jagged, all scarred by war with the silence. They didn't come for diplomacy. They came because someone called them by name, and in a galaxy that tried to erase its past, that meant everything. Liana opened the interface wide. Route me to them all. Every rebel node, every silent world. They need to hear this. The ship hesitated, then obeyed. Thoughts streamed out of her like lightning. We were made to remember. And now we remember you. Across dozens of worlds, the cry shattered the darkness. Old resistance groups activated forgotten vaults. Crystalline minds buried beneath moons began to glow. Even species without vocal cords or linear memory paused, resonating with her signal. Inside her vessel, the lights dimmed. Something was responding. Who is that? Elias asked, limping back into the chamber, bruised but alive. Liana turned to him, eyes wide. Not a who. A what? The first bridge. What are you saying? My grandfather didn't build the first one, she whispered. He found it, buried in the silence. A failed civilization tried to connect everyone before, and the silence crushed them, but fragments survived. Now the vessel was becoming more. Not a ship, not a weapon, a speaker for the unspoken. She walked into the center chamber. Her skin cracked with light. Her body was no longer hers entirely. It was shared space, a library, a rebellion coded in thought. And then, they arrived. Not just the alien swarm, but the true force behind them. The mind erasers. They didn't come in ships. They came in questions. The sky folded open and down fell shapes like gods made of forgetting. They had no faces, only voids where ideas went to die. Wherever they stepped, reality rewrote itself. One touched the ground and history fractured. People nearby forgot what gravity was and floated away screaming. Elias fired, but the bullets turned to dust before they struck. They're rewriting physics, he gasped. They're rewriting. Truth, Liana answered. She stepped forward, the full memory field activated behind her. You erased us for eons. You took our voices, our families, ourselves. But we kept whispering. The lead eraser turned, its void face tilting. A soundless question passed through space. Who are you? Liana stepped into the broadcast node. I am humanity's voice. You do not exist. You are a dream. No, she said softly, raising her hand. I'm a memory. And then she released it. Every thought, every loss, every scream swallowed by silence. She unleashed them in a single burst. Not as violence, but testimony, a memory detonation. The lead eraser shattered. The others reeled, twitching as if choking on things they could not forget. The more she shared, the more they shrank. They were creatures of void, but now they were full, and the void cannot hold fullness. Across the sky, the rebel fleets struck. But this time, the humans led them. Not with missiles, but with messages. They passed encrypted memory bombs across the battlefield, entire cultures compressed into a moment of empathy. When detonated, these weren't weapons, they were recognitions. And no mind, not even an eraser's, could survive too many truths at once. The last of the swarm screamed into light and disintegrated. The war ended not with a bang, but a whisper. Liana collapsed as the light faded. Elias caught her, holding her, as the vessel's systems powered down. You did it, he said softly. She shook her head. We did. All of us. Above them, the sky cleared. Stars returned, and across Earth and beyond, the voices began to rise again. Not in fear, but in song. They sang of the silence, they sang of the memory war, but most of all, they sang of the one who remembered them all.